Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CXO Conversations. I'm Divine Muragijimana, and I'm here at IFF 2026 in Kigali. And with me today is one of my favorite people, actually. Go way back. Radhika Bachu, the CEO and co-founder of Ndovu.
Thank you, Divine. You're also one of my favorite people. Yes.
I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But for those people, I think we get to hear the headlines, right? We get to see Ndovu and online and so forth. But I'm curious about a little bit about your journey and what brought you to Ndovu? Like, what got you to where we are today with the business that you've built, and why this is the exciting problem to solve now?
Yeah. Great question. So, as we know each other, but for those who are listening in, I was at BlackRock in London and I managed a lot of money for institutions. And when I moved back to East Africa and I recognized that the everyday Kenyan, East African could not access global markets, yet we were global citizens. So what do I mean by that? We import cars, phones, laptops, but we earn in local currency.
Yeah.
So all we are doing is consuming rather than moving to an ownership mindset. Mm-hmm. And I had lots of coffees with asset managers, insurance brokers, everybody in the finance industry. And I was curious to know why the local players weren't actually offering global markets.
Yeah.
And actually, high level conclusion was they just didn't try. And so I was like, right, this is for me to solve. And so since then, we now serve over 200,000 clients. We're regulated in 3 different markets and we're growing year on year significantly. And it has been a journey of ups and downs.
Okay.
But I feel that myself and my team are the right people to solve this problem because we're so passionate about being able to offer smart investments to the everyday African who is now digitally savvy, because of social media, knows what investments are and is moving into that space where they're becoming from low income to middle income. Mm. And now this is all starting to click. And it's really nice so today I met a client, he said, oh my God, I use Ndovu and you know what, I'm going to continue using it because you're the lady behind it.
Yeah.
Because he heard me speak and it was so nice. And I said, we have to take a picture. So we took a photo.
I mean, it's nice. Like, I think one of the biggest opportunities with coming to see your customers, so I'm excited that you actually met a customer, is that you get to see the product that you've built at work.
Yeah.
But let me maybe go back a little bit for those people who might not understand what Ndovu does, right? So first, it's who is Ndovu for, right? And, do you have to be earning like uber amount of money? So who is it for? And then what does it actually do for that person?
Yeah.
And just in layman terms, for someone who just probably doesn't understand, when you talk about S&P 500, there's somebody who glosses over like just that. Yeah. So for someone who might not understand the nitty gritty of investment, who are you serving?
Yeah.
Maybe we start, who do you serve? And then what do you do? Like, what is that thing that you do for them?
So, Divine, we serve individuals like yourself, somebody, even a student, if you are. So the idea is that we democratize access to global markets. And so that means anyone with as little as 10,000 shillings, there's Kenyan shillings, Rwandan franc, can come onto the platform and they can give us their money, which we then take and invest into companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, but also local currency investments. And what that means is that at the end of when you invest, your money grows every year by on average 12 to 20% on the dollar. And that's a really good return because if you held your money in a bank, you're earning 2 to 3%. And then we have something called the cost of living, known as inflation, which goes up.
Yeah.
And so if you're earning 2 to 3%, actually your money is losing value. By making a small change in the way you think about money, by taking your hard-earned money from the bank and moving it to an investment portfolio, and earning 12 to 20%, you're helping your money multiply.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We provide you responsible access to global markets and local markets, but we help you do it. So we don't just let you do it. There's a relationship manager. They sit with you. They educate you. Because for me, taking the time to educate you on how the markets work is really valuable because you will then translate that into your day-to-day every life.
Okay.
So let's say you say to me, hey, Radhika, I want to get to $100,000 in my investment account. But like, great, let's sit down. What are your financial goals? Why do you want to get to that money? And when we talk about how do you think about money, whether it's savings, investments, and sometimes the biggest thing that people don't realize is they sometimes go and buy a coffee. I'm not saying don't buy coffee for the rest of your life, but I'm just saying be mindful. If you're buying a coffee every single day, then that's a $5 wherever you're based, it's a $5 expense. But if you invested that $5, that's actually a lot more money that you would have had that you don't have.
Yeah.
And so moving the consumer from consuming lots of products to more ownership, and we do that in a responsible way.
And here's a question. I think money is one of those touchy subjects when it comes to just talking about money. Like, I remember having my first investment conversation and I was dying inside.
It makes you feel naked.
Exactly.
Isn't
it made me just, I looked at, first of all, I was looking at my balance and, so first of all, they went and did an entire accounting and told me how much I spent on coffee. Now mine is coffee, sushi, and spa. Like, those are
we all have our vices. They're good ones, yeah.
And they just told me how much I spent. I was just like, and then they said, you should invest. I'm like, and then now they calculated how much money, but money is just a very touchy, very uncomfortable conversation.
It is.
And when you come into Africa, it's even more, right? Money matters is a conversation we don't have openly. We don't have it with young people. We don't have it with business owners. So we talk about presentation all the time. I'm like, when we talk about money, it becomes almost like everybody just comes, they fold in.
Yeah.
How have you been able to have conversations about money and convince these many customers, you have a good number of customers, to actually invest?
So I think, first of all, because money is uncomfortable, you have to build trust. And that has actually been the hardest part of our journey, is actually, when somebody entrusts you with even 1 shilling, they're not actually giving you money. They're actually giving you their faith.
Yeah.
And so the trust part is very important. And the way we do that is that we build brand presence. So we do a lot of thought leadership. We'll be on KTN News and outlets like that, publications. We then also, we don't go in selling. We always come in with, hey, let's talk about money. This is really important.
Yeah.
And I think the best closing line always is look, you look uncomfortable. Let's start with a small amount so you can get familiar with the idea of investing. And I think that always is a great way because, so for example, I had a client, she's 69 and her house is paid off, but she said, look, I have this cash, but I'm uncomfortable. And it's a lot of money. It's actually $200,000. So I said, you know what? Let's start with as little as $2,000. And 2 weeks later, she's like, right, I get the platform. I understand how it works. Let's move. And I was like, are you sure we can do it slowly over time? And she's like, no, I now trust it. I see how to invest, how to withdraw. I understand how my portfolio moves. And I think the conversation is really difficult, but by the time somebody has found you, in their mind, with all the marketing that we do, they're ready to invest because they know that it's something they should be doing. And then it's our job to bring you along the journey to say, right, now let's make the first investment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel like so I invest in Roth, right? Like my retirement account is Roth, and it's because the honest truth is I was older. I was getting older. I don't want to, say my age. Nowadays, my age is
you look lovely. Fabulous.
But as I was getting older, I was wondering, I'm like, okay, so if I decide to just quit my job today, what will I do? What's my plan? So, as everybody else, if you don't have a 401k, you go and, start a Roth account.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing about Roth accounts is that I have to actually look at the money and go and, invest, I have a VTI and so forth. Like, I have to go and individually buy the stock and do, how many shares do I want?
And it's really stressful.
And it's stressful because I don't know. I'm hoping that, I'll pick, some of these funds and they work out.
Yeah.
What's the difference between my experience, which is really painful, even though it's a US account, it's painful.
Yeah.
What's the experience? What would be the experience that I have if I come to Ndovu?
Yeah. So actually, Divine, you hit the nail on the head. So I was excited that we're the first fintech in East Africa to bring global markets, US equities, ETFs to Africans. And what my customers told me was like, no, I just want a cash fund, which already exists. It's simple. It's well proven out. It exists. And actually, a lot of the customers we speak to have gone through the same anxiety of, I don't know where to invest. This is not my full-time job. I don't want to do it. So guess what? After 2 years of our strategy, we've now launched a multi-asset special fund, which is managed by a professional. So now the sales pitch is no longer, I think you should hold S&P 500 and you should also hold gold and etc. It's saying, hi, this fund, it's a multi-asset special fund. If you were to give us 250,000 shillings, $2,500, we will take it and we will try and generate a return of 20%. Because what I realized
I'm signing up right now today.
Yes, you have to. Yeah. And the reason for that was we had clients who were giving us $500,000 and saying, listen, I kind of get it, but I don't want to do the management. Take my money. Not because they're not smart. It's because our lives are so busy that having to sit down and figure out what to invest in is actually not a great use of their time. They rather go make the money. So actually at Ndovu now, we give you the option to do it yourself or let us do it.
Yeah.
And actually we've seen significantly more traction on let Ndovu manage it for you, and people are willing to pay a slightly more price for it, as long as they don't have to make those decisions, because that leads to decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue, decision delay, decision analysis paralysis.
All of those. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm probably going to be now your additional customer, because I gotta tell you, money, it's one of those things I have been. And I'm sure there are many like me. You're blessed, and you are lucky enough to be able to have a good job and do good work and love the work you do.
Yeah.
I think money is one of the last things you want to think about, even if it's 100 shillings, right? 100%. Even if it's however amount, because being blessed doesn't mean you're making 5 million. It just means that you are comfortable enough to be able to live the life that you want. And I know there are many of us who are stressed with how first of retirement, second, what happens if I decide to quit or I want to go on a vacation and I think that's the one thing when I came back from the US, it was very surprising because I thought I would find it easy to invest in Africa for whatever reason. But it wasn't. And now I think I've learned that it's probably much easier to invest my money here into the US than doing it in the US, because the one thing that I've caught was the interest rate, 20%.
Yes.
That is not the global rate.
So actually last year on the dollar, we generated 28% on the dollar, net of fees, net of tax.
I don't want to ask how you're doing it, but
but it's not magic, and I'm happy to share. We're coming off a very great time in capital markets. We will see a recession, but then it's our job to diversify.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we capitalize on the great boom that we're seeing. But now with the war and interest rates coming down and the fear of inflation going up, things are changing. So this is why you pay Ndovu to do this for you, because I've just seen your face and you're like, girl, this is too much.
I've glossed over. All I had was, give us your money, we'll get you 20%. And that is basically where I've landed. And so I will be giving you my money after this.
I will. We'll have a call after this. And the beautiful thing about why we succeed to traditional asset managers is because the everyday consumer now wants to see their money. And traditional asset managers will, after a quarter, give you a statement, but won't tell you like what's invested, why has my money grown. And they're forgetting the consumer is becoming more sophisticated because everyone's using digital banking. They want to see their money because they're like, if I can see it, I know it's okay. So
Okay. So one last question. Ndovu is successful in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
If you could, paintbrush, what is the, that nice paintbrush, that question you always ask, like in 10 years, you're super successful. You've done everything that you need to do at Ndovu. What does the world look like for you?
Personally or for Ndovu?
For Ndovu.
For Ndovu.
Can also be personal.
So I always say this, I think, so two things. I have the vision of the company is that in the next decade, every African will become an owner of capital markets. And that's the mission we're driving. So in addition to our app, we embed our solution into telcos, banks, because we want to target even the bottom of the pyramid individuals. Scale up such as Mkopa and Kopa. We're integrating with them to be able to offer somebody who's earning $9 a day, so they can move from consumption to ownership. And that is my 10-year vision. We would be a household name. When everything goes well, we will be a household name. And that for me, and my personal success is I'm walking down the street, someone taps me and says, Radhika, because of you, I was able to send my children to university.
Oh, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
In 10 years, that is the vision. And I say that I like to pray for people who are solving those very hard problems. So you are now added into my prayer list.
Thank you.
So if I close.
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, I'm a tea girl. I'm British. Well, I've
Oh,
stayed
wow.
so long there that I'm a tea girl now.
You know what? When you have a conversation with Jahil, ask him about the same question, and then we'll circle back in the in the streets in Nairobi about that question. But yeah, so that's our time. I wish I have so many other questions because I want to also learn about your personal journey. So next time we sit in this seat, I'll be asking you about your founder journey. So
love it.
It's a deal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And guys, it's a wrap.